2nd of December 2021.
We're likely in for a cool and wet summer.
Major weather emergency this morning.
La Nina has hit.
From news.com.au.
I'm Andrew Bucklow, and I've got news for you. If you live on the east coast of Australia, I'm sure you've noticed that the weather's been a little bit, shit lately. I mean, it's been raining, it's been humid, there have been floods. The whole thing is just not ideal. Now, apparently this wet girl summer is all down to something called La Nina. Today we're going to find out exactly what that is and what sort of weather we can expect in the coming months. And we're also going to meet a storm chaser who'll open up about the wildest things that he's seen while stalking hurricanes and tornadoes all over the world.
One of the things that I have seen, which a lot of people tell me isn't true, but I've seen it for myself, is an A4 sheet of paper wedged into concrete.
Whoa! What, just from the power of the wind?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. And I try to explain to people that imagine a blade of grass coming at you at 400 kilometres an hour, the damage that they can do. I mean, that's like a bullet.
Benedict Brooke is a news.com.au journalist who's basically our resident weatherman. Now, Benedict, in the simplest way possible, can you explain La Nina to me?
I will give it a go.
Thank you.
Basically, El Nino means little boy, La Nina means little girl, but there is nothing little about these climate drivers. Now, they're two ends of the same dance of wind and sea temperatures in the Pacific Ocean. And what happens with a La Nina is that those trade winds become more powerful and push from basically east to west towards Australia.
Right.
And that pushes more warm water towards the Australian east coast. More warm water helps in the creation of clouds, and more clouds brings more rain.
More rain, okay. That's depressing. So what effect is La Nina going to have? You've mentioned more rain. Is it going to mean more rain all around Australia? What else are we going to see?
So La Nina can bring rain around many different parts of Australia, but essentially it's mostly concentrated on the east coast, the north and central Australia. So New South Wales and Queensland are very much in the sights of La Nina, maybe less so in WA. Rain is one of the impacts. You can get more tropical cyclones during a La Nina. All of that moisture can create a lot more flooding. It wouldn't be a surprise if we have a situation like we had earlier this year, where we have another kind of flooding situation in New South Wales and Queensland. Temperature-wise, also quite interesting. It can bring temperatures down during the day because you've got more clouds, means less sun is coming through. But during the night, because I've got all those clouds, it can actually make it quite hotter when you go to bed.
There's nothing I hate more than getting sweaty in bed, unless it's, for something fun. So you don't really want to comment about that. Now, this is apparently a double La Nina, which sounds a lot like a drink I ordered at a bar on the weekend. What is a double La Nina?
Oh, double La Nina. It's when La Nina does not get the hint and sticks around for 2 years. Look, the last time this happened was 2010 to 2012, and that was the wettest 24 months on record in Australia since since they started, compiling data. That's when they had Cyclone Yasi in the Brisbane floods, right? So double La Ninas can be really huge amounts of rain. However, they're saying that this one could be a weaker La Nina. So hopefully it won't be as bad as 2010 to 2012. But look, any La Nina can bring some major flooding events.
All right, so you've mentioned that it's going to be hotter at night, temperatures are going to be lower during the day, there's going to be more rain, potentially more flooding as well. Is there any upside to La Nina at all?
Well, look, it will probably lead to a soggy summer. Like, not no summer, but a soggier summer. But the flip side of that is that bushfires and rain really don't mix very well, right? So the outlook is that we should have less bushfires this summer. Not none, but less, particularly on the east coast. It's looking like it could be far less than usual. There may still be some in inland New South Wales and Western Australia because all this rain helps growth and that is very good to burn. But look, if it stays a little bit soggy, then we could be in for flooding summer, but not a burning summer.
And will this La Nina kind of piss off at the end of summer? Is this all going to be gone early next year?
Yeah, look, this is a pretty piss weak La Nina, they're saying. That's officially from the Bureau of Meteorology. That's their terminology they use. But they're saying that they don't think this one's going to stick around too long. So probably like late January, early February, this one may exit stage left. So that means that some of the impacts, such as flooding in the early part of next year, may not be so bad, but it could still mean that when you get down to the coast for your post-Christmas holiday, you may have to rug up.
So, Benedict, I detect that you have a British accent there. You're probably thrilled about the fact that it's going to be a wet, miserable summer. It'll be like being at home, right?
There is nothing that brings a British person's heart more joy than fog, cloud, and having to stay indoors in the middle of summer. So I am elated. My jumper collection is already huge, and it's going to get a good workout this summer.
Justin Noonan is an Aussie storm chaser based in Brisbane who's been up close and personal with all kinds of wild weather, including hurricanes and tornadoes. Now, Justin, how did you get into storm chasing?
Well, when I was growing up, I lived on a small farm down towards Mount Tamborine on the Albert River there, and in 1996 we had a really big flood. So that was kind of a little bit of the catalyst. And then about 12 months later, Tropical Cyclone Justin decided to form off the Queensland coast. And being a true pest to its name, Justin, it hung around for about 3 or 4 weeks and crossed 3 or 4 times. And that was it for me. It was after that I was just harassing the Bureau of Meteorology weekly and just studying all sorts of weather that I could, and thunderstorms, tornadic events. And then in 2001, I finally got my driver's license as a fresh-faced 17-year-old, and I went for my first chase out towards Beaudesert. I had absolutely no idea what I was looking at or what I was doing storm chasing wise, but I had my trusty underwater disposable camera and took a couple of snaps, and I actually still have that photo today. It was quite a nice little Augusta for a thunderstorm there, so it was a good start.
And I'm tipping that Australia is probably not the best place on earth to experience extreme weather. Where's kind of the pinnacle of storm chasing? Which country?
So the pinnacle for storm chasing is in the US, and that's where they average around 1,200 tornadoes per season. And I've been over there 9 times now, and I've seen 89 tornadoes in the US, including the largest in history at 4.2 kilometres. And unfortunately, I also witnessed the 7th deadliest US tornado of Joplin, Missouri in 2011.
Over the weekend, 70 tornadoes in 70 states, but what happened here in Joplin was certainly the worst. Just take a look at right around us. There are at least 6 cars mashed into a ball here with a chain link fence and building debris and trees all mashed in.
Unfortunately killed 160 people, and we were very, very close to that. So it's a very dynamic place over there, and when you do get the perfect thunderstorm in the middle of nowhere on the Great Plains, there is nothing like it on the planet. You're sitting there just watching this magnificent thunderstorm develop, and you have front row seats to the best show in the world.
What's it like? I mean, I'm sure most of us have seen that 1996 movie Twister. Is it similar to that? Like, do you actually go out in those cars and try and track down the storm? You got cameras everywhere. Like, how does it work?
Yeah, it's quite interesting. It is a little bit like that. There's a lot of those type of cars, and yeah, we've got all sorts of cameras, GoPros, drones now, and you do go out in video and photography-wise to try and get the best that you possibly can. Obviously, they embellish a little bit in the movie Twister, which is perfectly fine. We all do that in life. But it has similar grounds to it, and there's actually there used to be a show called Storm Chasers where they had custom-made built tanks that would drive into tornadoes. And one of my mates who used to work on the show and drive the tornado intercept vehicle actually bought that 18 months ago. So next year we are planning to intercept tornadoes in it. All panels drop to the ground. It has pneumatic spikes that go about 12 inches into the ground, and it's been through an EF4 tornado, which is the second highest on the rating. So hopefully next year can drive through the craziest thing I can find.
And can I ask, what's kind of the point of storm chasing? Like, are you doing research while you're out there, or are you just kind of reporting back to news stations? It's
individual basis of what you like to do. There are a lot of people that do it for scientific reasons. I'm self-confessed adrenaline junkie. I absolutely love it. But there is a serious side that goes into it with storm chasing. Is we do a lot of reporting here in Australia and in the US for the Bureau of Meteorology and the Storm Prediction Centre. So if we do come across any type of severe weather, whether it's large hail, damaging winds, flash flooding or tornadic events, we will report that straight to the Bureau or to the Storm Prediction Centre in the US. That actually goes straight into any warnings, and so they can warn people downstream from that. So we do play a very important role, and also we are first responders as well. The amount of times there's been serious damage in towns or areas in the US, and basically you're the first one on the ground there, so your storm chase ends and it just goes to helping people on the ground. So there is a lot involved to it, but I mean, I do love the dynamics of weather, and I love to feel that the air rushing into the storm and close lightning strikes, and I love large hail and love driving through it. And there is just that serious element to it as well. But there are a lot of people that do scientific research and try and unlock the keys as to how these actually develop and unfold with tornadic events, and particularly large hail.
Can I ask, how close do you get to a tornado?
That depends on who you ask, I guess. as close as you can get safely. There's been a couple of times I've been a little bit too close, and you really need to make sure you have an escape option. And sometimes that can be very difficult in Australia, so you tend to be a little bit further back. But in the US, there's normally a lot of good road options. But sometimes it just happens to, you get a little bit too close by accident. In Joplin, Missouri in 2011 was one of those. But I have been close to an EF4 tornado by 200 to 300 metres. We had perfect road options to get out of there. So you can get close safely. You just got to make sure you're very diligent about it.
Talk to me about those close calls. Like, did you ever feel like your life was in danger?
It's actually funny you ask that. People have asked me that about Joplin, and I never thought my life was in danger, even though technically it was. It was more about the town and seeing what those people were about to go through. That was the first thing that really went through my head. It wasn't until about half an hour later I kind of realised that we were actually in significant danger as well. But I've never been in a situation where I thought I'm actually in serious trouble here when it comes to tornadoes, thankfully. And I hope I actually never do come across that day, because that will go through me like, it's very hard to put into words really, because I'll know I've made a fundamental mistake there, and I don't want to ever do that.
All right, still going. All right, all you rookie storm chasers lost your virginity today in a big way. Oh my God.
Justin, what does a tornado feel and sound like when you're up close?
So tornado-wise, the best way to describe it is like a cascading waterfall if you're standing very close to it. That's the type of sound that a tornado makes when you're up close. And it's not just the sound as well, you actually get smells that come from it, because it could be ripping up ground that hasn't been touched for hundreds of years. You can smell all the trees being ripped apart and the grass being torn up and the mud.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's an incredible event when you do actually get kind of close to it safely. And that sound, it will stick with you and resonate with you for a long, long time. It's pretty deafening, and it was something you will never, ever forget. Cyclones are a little bit different because it's more through populated areas. Generally, you hear the wind howling through roofs and through streets. So it's a little bit more different when it comes to cyclones than what it is tornadoes, because they're just more out in the open compared to cyclones.
I know in that Twister movie, going back to that again, there's that famous scene where you see the cow get sucked up into the Twister. What are some of the craziest things that you've witnessed?
Some of the craziest things I've witnessed. Well, I've seen an entire house get taken up and relocated.
Wow.
So that was May 9th, 2016 in Wynnewood, Katy, Oklahoma. Just trees just tossed like toothpicks. I mean, we're talking 100 feet tall trees like toothpicks tossed across the road and just sitting there, and actually very reminiscent of some of the stuff you would see on Twister in that regard. And it's the power of tornadoes are quite crazy. And one of the things that I have seen, which a lot of people tell me isn't true, but I've seen it for myself, is an A4 sheet of paper wedged into concrete.
Whoa.
Let that one sink in.
What, just from the power of the wind?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. And I try to explain to people that imagine a blade of grass coming at you at 400 kilometres an hour, the damage that they can do. I mean, that's like a bullet. So the power of tornadoes and Mother Nature in general and severe weather events is just extraordinary.
Now, is it right that in the US you work for a company called Silver Lining Tours that actually kind of takes people into these zones with extreme weather and lets them experience things like tornadoes? Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yes, I'm a tour guide and forecaster for Silver Lining Tours, and storm chase in the US is a big, big business, and a lot of people, yeah, as you said, come around from all parts of the world and chase storms. And one of the things that I absolutely love about it is not just meeting all people from different countries around the world, but getting to introduce them to severe weather. A lot of them may have never seen a thunderstorm, let alone a tornado. So being able to crack their tornado virginity is pretty awesome. And we also have some people that are actually go on the tours because they're petrified of thunderstorms, so they want to get rid of that as well. So it's just a really cool introduction. I've made so many great friends from around the world, and being able to showcase lightning and large hail and fantastic storm structure, and then the cherry on top of the tornado for some of these people and sharing lifelong experiences is pretty damn cool.
How do you kind of guarantee someone on a tour that they're going to see some extreme weather?
Yeah, well, that's one of the interesting things about it. You can't really guarantee, particularly tornado-wise. One thing you will definitely get is thunderstorms. So you can guarantee that you're going to get some sort of thunderstorm. Whether or not it's the one you're after, that's the million-dollar question, because sometimes those ingredients just don't come together. And there's been a couple of times in the US where I've had weeks where they've just been really lackluster and terrible. And then there's other times where you have periods of 3 or 4 days where you see 30 or 40 tornadoes. So you do have to be a little bit lucky and get the right system, but either way, you will have fun. I guarantee that. I'm a little bit crazy and I love to do some silly things. So it's entertainment value, 100%. But you will get storms, that's for sure.
So are you a full-time storm chaser, or do you have to have a day job as well?
Unfortunately, I have to have a day job as well. I'd love to be a full-time storm chaser, but I'm also an alerts operator and forecaster for the Early Warning Network. So we do that all across Australia here, which is, I've managed to morph my love for weather into a permanent job. I'm actually an electrician by trade as well, and I've got out of that industry about 4 years ago to take up this opportunity with the Early Warning Network, and I love my job. It's weather 24/7, which can get a little bit hard to bear at times, particularly this time of year with how busy it is. That I wouldn't change it for the world. I mean, it's a fantastic job, and we all chase storms with all the people I work with. So on our days off, it's open slather and away you go.
Are you married, Justin?
I am married, yes.
And how does your wife feel about the fact you've got this storm fetish?
She doesn't mind it too much. She's come chasing in the US with me, and she comes chasing every so often. But she hates this time of year because if it's not storm chasing that I'm not here for, it's because of cricket as well. So it's one thing or the other that takes me away from her on the weekends. So she doesn't like that side of it, but she does understand it. She's the best wife in the world in that regard. So I've got no complaints there.
And obviously La Nina has been declared in Australia. What does that mean for you as a storm chaser? Is it going to lead to better storms?
It's a little bit from column A, a little bit from column B there. So with the La Nina developing, it allows a lot more moisture, which is what we've seen, and a lot, obviously, all the amount of rainfall totals we've seen the last 4 to 6 weeks. So it can actually enhance thunderstorms with activity-wise, with a lot of thunderstorms, but it can also hamper it too with so much rainfall, which makes it very difficult to chase with a lot of flooded roads, high precipitation thunderstorms, and the amount of thunderstorms that can develop. So it's a little bit of both there. It's been great because the last couple of years, particularly 1920, we've had these really big systems, but we had no moisture. And so it was just hot temperatures, bushfires, and nothing to really fire up thunderstorms. But this year we've seen all that moisture with those big upper systems moving across, thunderstorm heaven. Been fortunate enough to get out and see a bunch of really awesome storms so far this season, including the Brisbane tornado here at the airport on October 22nd. So my storm season's been pretty good despite the last couple of weeks.
Well, I don't know about you, but after hearing Justin's stories, I am so in the mood to watch Twister. Now, it's on binge if you want to check it out as well. I just can't wait to get swept up in that film. Thank you. That's all we've got time for in today's episode. I'll chat to you again tomorrow. See you later.